والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد
وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين لا سيما بقية الله في الأراضين الذي يملأ الأرض قسطا وعدلا كما ملأت ظلما وجورا ولعنة الله على أعدائهم ومخالفيهم من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. Let us all pray for the Imam of our time together. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا ووالدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا. صلوات. As we promised, inshallah, every night at the beginning of the lecture, we'll talk about one of the Islamic rulings, inshallah. So, tonight I want to talk about the different types of fastings, or siyam. We have fastings that are wajib, the ones that are haram, the ones that are makruh and mustahab. Now, what are the fastings that are wajib? Obviously, we know it's month of Ramadan, one of them, right? Month of Ramadan is wajib to fast. Also, another wajib fasting is kafara. For example, if you do hanthal al-qasam, if you swear to Allah that you would do something and you don't do that, you have to fast for 3 days. That's wajib, for example. Or kafara for not fasting 1 day. If someone intentionally does not fast 1 day, for example, he has the option of either feeding 60 people or fasting 60 days. This is wajib, right? Another wajib fasting is nadhr, right? If you make a vow that if such and such happens, for example, I will fast for 1 day, then it becomes wajib for you, mandatory for you to fast on that specific day. Or, it depends, when it comes to nadhr, it all depends on your intention. Some people make a nadhr or a vow that they will fast on one specific day and they have to fast on that day. Some people are smarter, they make a vow that they would fast on any day, and they can just fast on any day, basically. Also, if your father passed away and you're the oldest son, and he has some missed fastings, then it's your responsibility to fast on his behalf, or hire someone to fast on his behalf. Another fasting that's wajib also is the last day of i'tikaf. Unfortunately, we can't do i'tikaf here in this country. We don't have masjid, but in a masjid we can do i'tikaf, and staying in one masjid for 3 days, 3 consecutive days, and it has a special ahkam rulings. And the 3rd day it becomes wajib for you to stay there and fast in the masjid. Now these are the wajib fastings, and there are days that are haram for you to fast. Obviously, the days of Eid, Eid al-Fitr, Eid al-Adha, Eid al-Qurban, right? On these days, it's haram for you to fast. Also, it is haram to fast on Yawm al-Shak. What is the Yawm al-Shak? The last day of month of Sha'ban, right? With the intention of month of Ramadan. Obviously, you can fast on the Yawm al-Shak. Basically, let's say it's the 30th day of Sha'ban. It's either the 30th of Sha'ban or the 1st of Ramadan, right? So we don't know which one it is. If you fast with the intention of the 1st day of month of Ramadan, that is haram, because you don't know whether it's month of Ramadan or not. You can fast, definitely. If you don't have any qada, you can fast as mustahab. If you have qada, fastings on your shoulder. This is one difference between prayer and fasting. If you have missed prayers, you can still do mustahab prayers, right? But if you have missed days that you have missed on your fasting days, then you cannot fast mustahab. So you have to finish your qada fastings, and then you can start doing mustahab fasting. So again, that would be haram. Another thing that would be haram is for someone who is definitely sure that he would, the fasting would harm him, then it's haram for him to fast. Then it's haram for that person to fast. You know, I remember I was listening to BBC, and it was a long time ago, and on the radio, and then there was this man who came and was very proud. It was month of Ramadan, and they were doing an interview with him, and he was very proud of month of Ramadan and fasting, and he was saying that, you know, we are so sincere in our fasting days that, you know, no matter what, we will fast. And my father, you know, he fasted. All the doctors told him not to, but he did, and he passed away. So that is haram, and you cannot be proud of something haram that you do, right? that is haram. Also, fasting while traveling, you know, it's haram to fast unless you're a constant traveler. That has its own rulings. Also, another haram fasting is siyam al-wisal, basically to connect 2 days, right? So this is a fasting that some religions have, like I think Christianity or Jewish people have, that they would fast for 2 or 3 consecutive days, and that is haram for us to do. You know, it might happen that you don't have anything to eat or you don't get time to eat, but if you intentionally want to fast for 2 or 3 days, that is haram again. Another fasting that existed in the previous nations and is haram for us is Ruzeh Sukut, or fasting of being silent. You know, to say that, you know, like Maryam, you know, Salaamullah alayha. It is haram for us to, you know, fast in that way of not talking, and that is another haram. Okay, that's enough for ahkam rulings. Again, I mentioned these Islamic rulings, so I would open up the discussion. If you have any questions, inshallah, after the lecture, I'll be happy to answer them, inshallah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. قال الإمام علي بن موسى الرضا عليه الصلاة والسلام: شيعتنا المسلمون لأمرنا الآخذون بقولنا والمخالفون لأعدائنا ومن لم يكن كذلك فليس منا. This is a very important hadith from our 8th Imam Rudha alayhi salam, in which he makes the boundaries of tashayyu. What are the boundaries of tashayyu? Meaning that if you have these 3, you are within the religion, this beautiful religion. If you don't have them, you're not. Last night we talked about the concept of taslim, or being submitted to the word of Allah, the prophets and the imams, right? And we talked about how people failed in their test of taslim, or being submitted, at the time of Imam Hassan alayhi salam, when he made that peace treaty with Muawiyah. You know, a lot of Shias undermined the action of Imam and say, like, how dare you do this, right? They argued against Imam. They failed in their test of taslim. And I told you that this is a very important discussion that inshallah we're going to have tonight and talk about it. Imam al-Rudha alayhi salam says that these are the 3 boundaries. Number 1, al-musallimuna li-amrina. Our Shi'as are the ones who are fully submitted to our words, to our commands. Number 1. Al-akhiduna biqawlina. They take our word when it comes to the faith. وَالْمُخَالِفُونَ لِأَعْدَائِنَا. And they have animosity against our enemies, those who killed Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam and harmed them. وَمَنْ لَمْ يَكُنْ كَذَلِكَ فَلَيْسَ مِنَّا. Imam specifically says that if you don't have these 3, then you cannot claim to be one of us Shi'as. You have to be musallim as the first characteristic, the first attitude. You have to be submitted. As Quran beautifully says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم فلا وربك لا يؤمنون حتى يحكموك فيما شجر بينهم ثم لا يجدوا في أنفسهم حرجا مما قضيت ويسلموا تسليما. Quran says, but your Lord, they will not believe until they make you a judge in their disputes. Then do not find within their hearts any dissent, no inconvenience to your verdict, and submit in full submission. Quran specifically says that you are not a believer unless you are fully submitted to the Prophet. Fully tasallimu taslima, a full submission. That is what Allah wa ta'ala wants from us. In the hadith, Imam alayhi salam explained this ayah. Imam Salih alayhi salam said, if a group of people, they fast, they pray, وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةِ, they pray charity, وَحَجُّ الْبَيْتِ, and they go to Hajj, وَصَامُوا شَهْرَ رَمَضَانِ, and they fast, ثُمَّ قَالُوا لِشَيْءٍ صَنَعَهُ اللَّهُ أَوْ صَنَعَهُ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ أَلَا صَنَعَ خِلَافَ الَّذِي صَنَعَ أَوْ وَجَدُوا فِي ذَلِكَ فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ لَكَانُوا بِذَلِكَ مُشْرِكِينَ. This is very important. Imam says that if people pray, fast, do these things that everyone does, and then when they hear something that Allah has said in Quran or the Holy Prophet or the Imams have said, they find some inconvenience in regards to that. Oh, I mean, I wish. Come on, this shouldn't be right. Come on. I mean, what does Allah have to do with us be happy? Let us be happy and go to the club. Man, God loves us. And we love God, right? What does God have to do with us shaking hands with non-mahrams? Come on, why does God care about that? Quran says, the Imam alayhi salam says in regards to this ayah, that those who find inconvenience, haraj, in their heart, when it comes to the orders of Allah and the Prophets and the Imams, they become mushrik. They are not Shia, they are not mu'min, they are not Muslim even anymore. You know the famous ayah in Quran where we recite after our prayers, Inna Allah wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi ya ayyuhalladhina amanu sallu alayhi wa sallimu taslima. Sallu ala Muhammad. In which Allah Ta'ala ordered us to sallu alayhi wa sallimu taslima. Sallu alayhi, send blessings to him, and then wa sallimu taslima. What does it mean, sallimu taslima? The hadith mentions it correctly, that it means that you have to be fully submitted to the Holy Prophet and his progeny. So salawat is not just sending Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. No, sending salawat and being submitted. Sallimu taslima. Be in full submission to the word. وَالتَّسْلِيمُ لَهُ فِي كُلِّ شَيْءٍ جَارٍ. Being submitted in anything that has come from Allah and the Holy Prophet. You know, taslim, basically, if I want to put it correctly, is the line between faith and kufr. It's that line. You know, a lot of people ask about those who die without being guided. For example, those who are insane, or as we say in Arabic, ablah means people who are not retarded but are simple-minded, cannot find the haqq, find the truth. Or those kids who died before they turn to the age of maturity, right? What happens to them? What happens to them? Do they go to the hell or heaven? What happens to them? Now, there's a beautiful hadith in Baghernejad that explains what happens to them, and then, you know, tells us the importance of taslim, which is the core, I can say, the core of the shaykhah, the core of our religion. In the hadith, it says that there are 5 groups of people. إِذَا كَانَ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ Imam Baghernejad said, on the day of judgment, there are 5 groups of people. Allah will bring hujjah on them. Will bring a proof on them. 5 groups. على الطفل, a child. الذي مات بين النبيين, the one who passed away between 2 prophets. والذي أدرك النبي وهو لا يعقل, and the one who existed at the time of prophet, but he couldn't basically decide between the right way and the wrong path. والأبله, someone who was simple-minded. والمجنون, and someone who's insane. People basically who could not receive the truth. What happens to them? الذي لا يعقل والأسام والأبكم فكل واحد منهم يحتاج على الله عز وجل. All of these people, they will come to Allah Ta'ala and say, Ya Allah, we were not guided in the world. Now we are here in the day of judgment, on the day of judgment. What should we do? Then the Imam alayhi salam says, like now they're in the day of judgment. How should Allah test them to see whether they're really faithful or not? Should Allah ask them, do you believe in the day of judgment? Well, obviously they are in the day of judgment, they are believing that. Do you believe in the prophets? Well, they're seeing the prophets, right? Do you believe in Allah? Well, Allah is right there, He's asking them. So, what is the question that basically determines whether they are faithful or kuffar? That is the question of taslim, submission. How? The hadith says that Allah Ta'ala makes a fire in front of them and orders them to enter that fire. Those of them who submit to the word of Allah and without question just walk into the fire, that fire becomes peaceful for them and they walk into the heaven. And those who do not do that, who stay back and just like people in this world, come on, why should I do this? Why should I go inside this fire? Can I just walk away from that side? They will be taken to hell. So the core question that Allah, when He wants to determine whether you are a real faithful, a mu'min, or a kafir, is the question that has to do with your taslim. Are you fully submitted to Him? Do you confess that you don't know anything and Allah is the one who knows everything? وَمَا أُوتِيتُ مِنَ الْعِلْمِ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا. Quran says that you have been given a very little amount of knowledge. Do you confess to that? You are very limited. In another ayah, Allah Ta'ala says, وَاللَّهُ أَخْرَجَكُمْ. It's something that we all know, but we forget. Unfortunately, some people believe that, and the word insan comes from the root word nasiya, means to forget. We forget. We all know this fact. But Allah reminds us, وَاللَّهُ أَخْرَجَكُمْ مِنْ بُطُونِ أُمَّهَاتِكُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ شَيْئًا. Allah Ta'ala has brought you forth from the bellies of your mothers while you did not know anything. Well, come on, we know this already. Yes, I know. We all know that. But we forget and then we become arrogant. When you start studying, going to college, university, you become a professor, then you look around, people admiring you, respecting you as a scholar, for example, as a great person, respectful person. You come to yourself and say, MashaAllah, this is who I am, right? We forget. You have to confess that you don't know anything. In comparison to Allah Ta'ala, you're just like that child. If you have a baby and you're eating, let's say, biryani or kebab or shawarma, right? And that baby who was just 5 months old or 4 months old, cries to have that food. Well, you don't give that food to him, right? He will die if you eat that. Now, can you explain to him why he should not consume that food? Would you do that? Would you even come to explain to him? You would not even explain to him. You would just stop him from, touching the food. This is how we are to Allah Ta'ala. Our mind, our understandings are very, very limited. Allah, whatever He gives us, whatever He tells us, whatever He commands us, is out of His wisdom. The wisdom in which, with the wisdom that He had created this whole universe. And we don't have that. We have to confess to that. If we don't, then we become arrogant. The word in contrary to submission is arrogance. Iblis, alayhi la'anullah. Right? May Allah curse him 1,000,000 times. What was the problem with Iblis? Did he not believe in Allah? Did he not believe in the day of judgment? What was wrong with him? Quran says, وَإِذْ قُلْنَا لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ اسْجُدُوا فَسَجَدُوا إِلَّا إِبْلِيسَ وَاسْأَبَى وَاسْتَكْبَرَ وَكَانَ مِنَ الْكَافِرِينَ. Quran refers to Iblis as kafir. Okay, he must have not believed in Allah. Sorry, you're wrong. He did believe in Allah. And he even worshipped Allah even more than all of us. There's a hadith from Muhammad in which he says that Iblis, he was one of jinn. He was not from the angels. He joined the angels in worshiping. And he had worshipped Allah Ta'ala amongst the angels to the point that angels, they all thought that he's just one of them. Now this person, this angel, this Iblis, right, who worshipped Allah and believed in Allah as his Rabb, Lord. In another ayah, Iblis says, قال ربي يا ربي بما أغويتني. So he believes that Allah is his Rabb, Lord, مدبر الأمور. He believes in that. He believes in the day of judgment. Why? Because he asked Allah Ta'ala, قال أنذرني إلى يوم يبعثون. Allah, give me the permission to misguide people until the day of judgment. So he believes in the day of judgment. So what's wrong with him? Right? We all believe in Allah. We all believe in the day of judgment. Did he not believe in the prophets that they exist? Yes, he believed actually. Because he said, إِلَّا عَبَادِكَ الْمُخْلَصُونَ, I will misguide everyone except your sincere servants who are the prophets. So what's wrong with him? That Allah calls him kafir. What was wrong with him was that he was arrogant and did not want to submit to the word of Allah. When it came to the test of taslim, being submitted to the word of Allah, to prostrate towards Adam, he thought to himself, no, I mean, I'm better than Adam. He has to prostrate towards me. Why should I do that? What was wrong with Iblis? It's takbara, arrogance. Arrogance comes from where? Not being submitted to your Lord, Allah Ta'ala. So that's why it's saying the submission is that fine line between kufr and iman. If you are mu'min, in a hadith, someone asked Imam alayhi salam, what is the alama? What is the sign if I want to know I'm a mu'min or not? Imam said, look, if you are submitted or not. If you are submitted, then yes. If not, no. Imam As-Sajjad alayhi salatu was salam, let us have an answer for his name. Said, Inna deen Allah la yusab bil-uqul al-naqisa. Brothers and sisters, the religion of Allah cannot be reached by your uqul al-naqisa. Your aql, they are naqis, they are incomplete. Your incomplete uqul and intellects and minds and brains. والآراء الباطلة والمقاييس الفاسدة ولا يصاب إلا بالتسليم. The only path to reach the religion of Allah is taslim. فمن سلم لنا سلم. Whoever is submitted to us, Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, is a complete and full believer. سلم. ومن اقتدى بنا هدي ومن كان يعمل بالقياس والرأي هلك. وَمَنْ وَجَدَ فِي نَفْسِهِ شَيْئًا. Whoever finds any dissent, any inconvenience, when he hears a ruling from us, Ahlul Bayt, أَوْ نَقْضِي بِهِ حَرَجًا كَفَرَ بِالَّذِي أَنزَلَ سَبْعَ الْمَثَانِي وَهُوَ لَا يَعْلَمُ. If you find any dissent or inconvenience when you hear something from Ahlul Bayt or Quran, for example, when it comes to the women, Quran talks about the earth or inheritance, right? That the inheritance that the woman receive is half of men. Or for example, when it comes to diya, the blood money, right? A lot of women are tested by that. Or when it comes to having several wives or temporary marriage, a lot of these things. A lot of people are tested by these has sex in Islam. And I have to say that, I know when I say temporary measure, they became quiet. Because I was listening to the whispers, and then as soon as I said that, they became quiet, I know. So, just because you believe in that, it doesn't mean that your husband has to practice it. No, it doesn't mean that. That is meant for special cases. Just do not come out and say, I've seen ladies who pray, worship, do latmiyah, do nadhir, everything. But when it comes to temporary marriage, come on, this is not from Islam. You don't have to, your husband doesn't have to practice it. But do not come out and say that this is not from Islam, right? Or Islam is not just, Allah is not just if He says that, we get less than men in inheritance or blood money. No. Just give one possibility that there's something that you don't understand. You have to be submitted to the word of Allah Ta'ala. There's a beautiful hadith of Sahl al-Khurasani. Sahl was a Shia of Imam Salih alayhi salam. One day he came from Khurasan. Khurasan is the east side of Iran. So he came to Medina to visit Imam Salih alayhi salam and said that, come on Imam, what's wrong with you? No. We have hundreds of thousands of men with their swords ready, and they're just waiting for you to command them, and they'll come to take over, but Al-Abbas kill them all and give you the power. They're just ready to do that. And you're just sitting here in Medina doing nothing. Imam alayhi salatu wasalam, to make him understand that the 100,000 men that he is imagining, they don't exist. He said to his servant that go and fire up the tanur, the oven. Back then every house had a tanur and the oven to bake bread. So the guy went and made that fire. When it was in full fire, then the Imam turned to stand and say that, go ahead and walk into that oven. He looked at him and said, come on, I just, had a question, just forgive me. I'm sorry, I'll take my word back. Let me just walk away. Sorry, forgive me. Didn't say anything, and he could continue talking with him. Another companion of the Imam, Harun al-Makki, came, and as soon as he walked in, Imam alayhi salam said salam to him, he said salam back. And without explaining why and how and whatever, Imam said, go and walk into that oven. And he said, Sam'an wa ta'ata, I will do that. He walked in towards that oven, he took off his shoes, he went inside. Sahl al-Khurasani was looking at this situation, was like, Ya Allah, look at what I have done. I'll kill that guy. Poor guys, burned, roasted, right? So Imam alayhi salam continues talking to Sahl as if nothing has happened. And then after a while, he turns to Harun al-Makki and says that, come out. And Harun comes out of the oven without nothing happening to him. And Imam alayhi salatu salam turns to Sahl and says that, how many men in Khurasan do you have like him, like Harun al-Makki? He says none. We have none. This is the level of submission. I mean, if you want to test yourself, are you really submitted to our Imam? Just imagine Imam Ali Ajjallah Ta'ala Faraj al-Sharif, he appears today. And he tells you that everything you have, your house, your car, your clothing, everything, is all na'udhu billah. This is inshallah is not the case. These are all from haram money. And you have to give it all away for the sake of Allah. Would you do that? Would you do that? Test yourself. Am I submitted to the word of my Imam? There is one great companion of Imam Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. His name is Abdullah ibn Abi Afur. He comes to Imam and says that, Ya ibn Rasulullah, if you bring me a pomegranate, Oman, right? If you bring me a pomegranate and make it, half, right? Cut it into half. Cut it into 2 pieces. And tell me that this half is halal and this half is haram. I would submit to that. I would say that this is halal and this is haram without asking you that question. This is the level of submission that we must have towards our Imam. Are we in that position? Are we in that level? If you want to be amongst the companions of our Imam Al-Mahdi Ajjallahu Farajahu Sharif, this is how submitted we have to be to him. Because his word is the word of Allah. One of the great Shias, his name is Abu al-Taghlib. He is from Iraq. He came to Imam As-Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam in Medina and asked him, Ya Rasulullah, if a man cuts a finger of a woman, what is the blood money? Does anyone know? 10 camels. Imam alayhi salam responded, 10 camels you have to pay if a man cuts a finger from a woman. Then he asked, how about if he cuts 2 fingers? Well, Imam alayhi salam said 20 camels. If he cuts 3 fingers from a woman, how many camels? Imam said 30 camels you have to pay as blood. Then he asked if he cuts 4 fingers. Well, obviously your answer is 40. But Imam alayhi salam said 20. And he was shocked. He said, Ya Ibn Rasulullah, we heard this when we were in Iraq, and we thought that this is from Shaitan. And I've come to Medina, you're telling me this? How come? Imam got angry and said, أخذتني بالقياس. You're making a comparison between the ahkam of Allah Ta'ala. The hukm of Allah is that men and women are, the blood money is same to the to 3 fingers, and then after that becomes half. So 5 would be 25 instead of 50, and so forth and so on. This is the ruling of Allah. This is the ruling of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. أخذتني بالقياس. Come on, Sheikh, it doesn't make sense to my mind. I cannot understand it. Whoa. You cannot understand it? Who said that you have to understand? You see, there are 2 different things. Sometimes something is against our logic. For example, Christians come and say that 3 is 1 and 1 is 3. This is against anyone's logic. This cannot happen. Allah never says that as such. But there are rulings that we do not understand the wisdom behind it. This is something else. So Allah never says something that is اجتماع نقيضين. Allah will not come saying that pray and then at the same time do not pray. Now it's, you have to fast and at the same time do not fast. Allah will not tell something that's illogical, against logic. No. But Allah will tell us some things that we do not comprehend. We do not comprehend. And that's the whole wisdom behind taslim. Because if I understand all the wisdom behind it, I wouldn't be called someone who's taslim. For example, Allah Ta'ala has forbidden us from eating garbage, for example. Qazurat. Stuff in the toilet, for example. And then you go and say, I'm fully submitted to Allah. Just because Allah said so, I don't eat the qazurat and trash and garbage. Come on. You already know that you shouldn't eat that. You're not eating it just because Allah said. You know why you shouldn't be eating that. Because you know that it harms your body. So you cannot say, oh, I'm submitted to the word of Allah because of that. No. You will say that I'm submitted to the word of Allah when you do not understand the wisdom behind it. Right? The hikmah of the action that Allah Ta'ala has asked you to do. Otherwise, you wouldn't be calling yourself al-musallim. A great example of someone who's in full level and the highest level of taslim. Because taslim again has different levels. It might be submitted to the word of Allah when it comes to money, when it comes to praying, when it comes to taking our time to pray or paying charity. But a lot of people will not be submit it to Allah when it comes to their life, for example. And Allah tells them to, sacrifice your life. They're not willing to do that. Allah talks about it all over Quran. Right? People, when you tell them, Allah says that, Allah tells them, go and fight, and they stick to the ground.